taking on the Titans. 4 minutes to go. Derrick Henry, Dominique, just dominated this game.
This whole game was about Derrick Henry, and those guys don't really look like they want to
get out the way.
Get out the way.
That was his third touchdown. Titans on top, 34-31. Now here's how the game is decided. Josh Allen, 3rd and 6 with 38 seconds to go, diving for the first down, comes up just short. So, Jeff, rather than kicking a tying field goal, they go for it on 4th and 1. Do you like the decision?
Love the call. Listen, it's 6'5", 240. Your quarterback's got to get it. Great play by Jeffrey Simmons going underneath Deion Dawkins to stop the QB sneak. Big play by the Titans.
Mike Vrabel and company celebrate the win on that stop, 34-31, a huge one for Tennessee at home. And our good calls brought to you by Subway. The Titans made the good calls by giving the ball to Derrick Henry a whole lot last night. Yesterday was his 5th career game with 150 yards from scrimmage and 3 rushing touchdowns. Meanwhile, Dan Graziano, let's do an all-Browns edition of Run the Hurry Up because we got all kinds of injury news.
Browns have too many injuries to fit into one Run the Hurry Up. Kareem Hunt, running back, injured his calf. They announced yesterday that he's going to miss several weeks, likely to go on IR. Nick Chubb, who missed this past game with a calf injury, they had some hope that he might be back Thursday night, but now it sounds unlikely that he'll be able to recover in time to play that game. Wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. briefly left Sunday's game with a shoulder injury, came back in and played and actually played all right. There's a possibility he could be okay and maybe have to play hurt on Thursday night, but right now, too soon to know from what I've been told on Odell Beckham. Browns estimated him as a did not practice yesterday, estimation because the team didn't practice. They had to file an injury report because they play Thursday. Big one, though, maybe Baker Mayfield, the quarterback. We know he's been playing with that left shoulder injury, the non-throwing shoulder. He aggravated it again Sunday, and he had a second opinion on the MRI. They're waiting for results on that. Entirely possible, depending on what they find out from that MRI, Baker Mayfield may have to miss this game, and it would be Case Keenum starting at quarterback for the Browns against Denver on Thursday night.
All right, and if there's one thing we take from that, Dan, it's that if ever a team did not need a Thursday night game, it's this team this week. As far as Mayfield is concerned, he's been sacked 18 times this year. The only quarterback who's been sacked more is Ryan Tannehill. So that's obviously the last thing in the world they need. And with that, we bring you back into our studio here, and we welcome you back to the accounting offices of Greenberg and Tannenbaum over here. And I want to ask the question, the injury is the injury, and obviously this is of significant concern. Well, actually, let's start with that. Because, Jeff, I've had some people suggest to me, well, it's his non-throwing shoulder. Just how big a deal is this? Does that make sense?
Those people are high. Anybody who does not believe that because it's your non-throwing shoulder, that it's your arm basically is hanging there and falling out of the socket is not going to affect somebody playing. Hey, you know what? Go knock your shoulder out and run a block and tell me how good you feel to go play football. You, by the way, do play football. It's not just about throwing the ball. You just see J.J. Watt run him down. It looked like Drew Brees. I mean, his wing is like pinned behind. I mean, this is extremely painful, extremely difficult to play through. It's absolute nonsense that people think this will not affect his play.
That said, and some things are excuses and other things are reasons. Injuries are sometimes reasons. Mike T., what are your thoughts as the Browns have had a disappointing start to their season? How much of that can be laid at the feet of the quarterback?
Absolutely. It's Baker Mayfield's team, and he hasn't played well. And it's the facts. It's the reasons. He is slow. He ran a 4.85 in college. He could outrun college defensive linemen. He can't do that. J.J. Watt is indicative of what's going to continue to happen. He is short, he is slow, he's going to continue to get hurt, and you cannot pay him. He is maybe the 8th best quarterback in the AFC.
Ooh, and an AFC, which would put him right in the middle of the pack, and we're talking about the possibility of $100+ million. Marcus, do you agree?
I agree, man. Listen, it's not that we haven't seen great moments from Baker, and it's a narrative that we need to start telling people. It's not necessarily that Baker can't play. It's that Joe Burrow is better. Lamar Jackson is better. Josh Allen is better. Patrick Mahomes is better. Like, we talked about this Cleveland Browns team as a Super Bowl contender, and everybody talked about Baker needing to step up and take another step forward. And I'm with Jeff. The injury is an issue. It matters. But ultimately, when they played the Kansas City Chiefs, there was no shoulder issue, and they lost that game. So this is not just about what's been happening with the Cleveland Browns and Baker Mayfield recently. This is a question that they had to answer coming into the season, and he just hasn't answered it.
That said, Dominique, Baker Mayfield is not the reason, or at least not the biggest reason, that defense, every time they play against a good team, gives up a million points. And my question to you is, why isn't this defense much better? They have great names on the backs of the jerseys.
Yeah, I think people assume that all the free agent signings and draftees, that you just come in and it just happens. And anyone who's been around football knows that it's not that easy. We see that every so often you try to put together a dream team. You remember when we did it with the Eagles not too long ago. It never really seems to pan out. You have to have like some institutional knowledge to be able to play going forward. You bring in a guy here, a guy there, a couple guys, that's one thing. But when you're trying to overhaul an entire team with just a bunch of new guys, it's hard to do. I think this team is in a bad way right now. I don't agree with you guys about not paying Baker, but that might be a conversation for another day.
Wait a second. Why would you pay him? Because if the four of us were running an NFL team, would we want to say, hey, we're the 8th best at anything? When you talk about Carr and Herbert and all the other guys that Swagoo mentioned, he is an average quarterback. Their GM, Andrew Berry, has done a remarkable job. I'd much rather pay guys like Denzel Ward. They paid Chubb. They got some really good offensive linemen. Baker Mayfield needs a lot of help for him to win.
This is my biggest question. Who are you going to replace?
There it is.
Listen, we can always fire somebody. Who are we hiring? Are we going to just leverage the franchise and go get? Are we getting Aaron Rodgers?
But Jeff,
who are we getting to come in and come play for him?
It's worse to pay a good player great money because then the other guys graduate, like we're seeing in Kansas City, and then you have no hope.
Yeah, we're going to get Spencer Rattler. Where are we going? No, I'm just saying we're not drafting high.
If I could stand up for my partner here, my partner in our law firm, it's not a question of you're not cutting him, but the question is, are you willing to pay him like he's Patrick Mahomes or any of the other guys we just named on this list? You're going to pay him like he's Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson or anything?
I think you can win with Baker Mayfield.
But that's not the question. The question is not can you win with him?
You pay him what the market says. So whatever his number is, you pay him what the market says because you can win with him as opposed.
The market says elite quarterbacks get paid that amount of money. Is he an elite quarterback?
No, he's not an elite quarterback. You can pay him like Tannehill. I
don't think you have to pay Baker in that way. He hasn't put up those numbers.
Right.
You can pay him less. The question that I have, given the Browns' history, you remember those jerseys that they had?
The 27 of them?
With 17 names down the back?
I don't care about his guys. Like, do you want to be the 8th best? Like, if we're going to be dogmatic about winning
I'll
the championship.
take the 8th best quarterback. They won with Trent Dilfer in Baltimore. If you can build everybody, if Andrew Berry can do as good a job building defense, offense, all those kind of things and go win, then yes, you can go win with that.
Absolutely. You've just gone too far for Marcus. Go ahead.
You lost me there. You lost me there, Jeff. Like, I hate when people bring up the quarterbacks can't be insulated no more and win Super Bowls, bro. It's over with in the NFL. You are not going to insulate a quarterback. He's going to have to stand up and make huge plays in order for you to win a Super Bowl. It's what we've been watching. Like, I get it. Everybody talks about the Ravens. The Ravens defense when they won the Super Bowl. Everybody talks about Tampa when Tampa won the Super Bowl. They had 6 Hall of Famers on those defenses. And that's why, and during that day and age, we all were in the league, and we know it was more about running the football and play action. You cannot insulate a quarterback anymore and win a Super Bowl in the NFL.
I agree with what you're saying, but big plays have to be made. They don't have to be made by your quarterback, is my only point. And, like, we only have to go back to last year to see what happened with Tom Brady.
They've needed him from Baker.
I'm just telling you.
They have needed him from Baker, and he hasn't come through.
Bro, his defense is giving up 40 points. He's chasing. What's he lose? 47, 42? Like, he's not making enough plays. He threw for 450 yards. Like how much are you going to ask him for? At some point, I understand what you're saying about quarterbacks making big plays. But at the end of the day, he can make enough plays to win you a Super Bowl. I have no doubt about that.
I agree with Swagoo because when you look at his physical limitations over time, it's going to catch up to him. It already has. He's out. Like you're saying, he's out there with one shoulder. Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott, some of these other younger, more athletic quarterbacks are thriving because they could survive having a pass rush that Baker Mayfield simply can't.
But at the same time, I understand what Jeff and Foxy is saying. Baker plays good in games. He makes throws, makes passes. But fellas, y'all know I've been having this argument with Dan. Y'all know what it's going to come down to. Y'all know what these games are going to come down to. And do you feel like you have a guy that's going to overcome the guys that we named in the AFC? That's the question the Browns have to answer.
That obviously Baker is not someone we can rely on to make that play every single time like these other guys, but he can make it every now and then.
Yeah.
Most of the quarterbacks in the league can't at all. So the margin of error for your team is small with Baker, but you have a chance with Baker. That's my point. You get rid of Baker, you don't got a chance.
To go start,
you don't got a chance.
Somebody. You
don't get a
tell us
rookie
who we're
and
replacing
cross
him
your
with.
fingers. Hope Keenum is on the case. Good luck.
Can I just say this?
Luck.
You see what you started here? I mean, you come
He
over
always
from the other
stirs it
side.
up.
He just stirs the pot.
Just the facts. Just the facts.
We'll see where it goes from here. In the meantime, we continue in just a moment here. Our next Tuesday night